A plot is underway to remove masterpieces worth millions from Britain's biggest galleries. And replace them with freshly painted fakes. In one of the boldest swindles in art history. The fakes will be hidden in plain sight, amongst the country's most important art collections. Will anybody spot the fakes? A royal portrait is being created in total secrecy.
It's a challenge because you've got to get those colours absolutely spot on.
It's being meticulously prepared, sourcing historic materials. And soon it will hang in one of Britain's biggest galleries. But it's a fake.
I'm confident I can make a good stab at this and remain undiscovered.
And he wouldn't be the only one.
£70,000.
The market in forgeries is worth billions of pounds, affecting the art trade all over the world.
The pair's accused of copying paintings by Russian masters and passing them off as the real thing.
And obviously they made substantial amounts of money as well.
Criminals continue to exploit the desire to own a piece of art history.
He's probably the most successful art forger in the world.
Do you think you're doing damage to the art world?
Not at all.
Do you think you're doing damage to individual artists?
Not at all.
But how hard is it really to spot a bogus painting? Setting out to deceive the nation, we're testing just how closely people really look at art. Some of Britain's biggest galleries have planted 7 fakes on their walls, covering key moments in British art history. And the people are tasked with finding the fakes.
I'm going to go full budget Sherlock Holmes.
It's painting CSI.
This is the fake. It feels like a modern touch to it.
Asking themselves what makes a great painting.
So you're saying basically any old fool can do one of these?
Leaves me speechless. Is this the real McCoy?
And does it even matter if art is original or not?
Copying anything is just cheating. I feel a bit betrayed, to be honest.
When people spend what could be a massive amount of money on a forgery...
That's out of order. It takes away the worth of the original.
Today, the spotlight is on Edinburgh. We know that one fake is hiding here in the Scottish National Portrait Gallery. But with over 30,000 paintings in this amazing collection, it's going to be a hard job picking out which one is not all it seems.
The fake is one of these 10 paintings that chart the history of the Stuart royal family of Scotland. Used as shows of status, signs of allegiance, and proofs of legitimacy, these masterpieces have always been thought irreplaceable historical documents. Until now. One man has dared to replace a 500-year-old royal portrait with a freshly painted phony. Tucked away in his hidden chapel studio, Jonathan Adams has been making legal copies of treasured paintings for 30 years. For all kinds of reasons.
Some people want them because they have to sell the original, or sometimes they want to buy a house with the proceeds. Some people want them simply because they really like one of the old masters, but you're looking at 7 figures probably. So I can do one for considerably less than that.
But making a fake specifically to deceive the public is a new challenge for Jonathan.
It's a bona fide test of my skills, and trying to fool someone and then say, actually, haha, it's all my work. I'm okay with that.
To make a convincing fake, Jonathan has to recreate every process the original artist would have undertaken, even down to sourcing the right wood to paint on.
The copy I'm about to start from the Tudor period is painted on oak panel. I've acquired an old piece of oak off a chap who's a cabinet maker. The qualities of the old wood are infinitely preferable. Brand new wood tends to want to wander about and bend and split. So this stuff is, I would say, at least 150 years old, and it's not really going to want to move about too much. A lot of those early portraits of royalty tended to be on oak or poplar or pine panels, and there is a certain way of preparing them. Canvas didn't really come into its own again until the later Renaissance.
Jonathan must cover the old wood in glue.
And here we go. I'm sealing it from the outside atmosphere. I don't want splits to occur, and I don't want it sort of bending like a banana and doing all that kind of thing. And it's simply a question of painting it on all over. I go with the grain of the wood. To dry, it won't take very long, a couple of hours probably. There are sort of forces at work within the wood that need to be controlled, or there will be trouble ahead.
At the Scottish National Portrait Gallery, the doors are opening. And the public is coming in, hoping to track down Jonathan's fake.
I brought a sort of secret weapon in that I brought a magnifying glass.
I'm always confident at spotting a fake. I live confident, so I am sure that I am going to manage it.
I don't think we're that confident in guessing on the face of the fake.
Not really.
But Mum's quite good on the Scottish history.
The faker is hoping to fool us, and I'm hoping that he doesn't do so. It's him against me, and I'm hoping that he's not good enough. I think fakes are a terrible thing.
But there is one fake hiding amongst this Scottish royal family. From the very flat-looking early paintings of Mary Queen of Scots and her parents, to the more detailed portraits of James VI as a boy, and on his coronation as James I of England. And the later portraits after the discovery of perspective, which changed art forever.
But with one of these royal paintings being a pretender to the throne, the public will have to look very closely at each one to spot it. Can you?
Across the nation, a hunt is underway to find the fake paintings concealed in our greatest public galleries. And in Edinburgh,
welcome to the Scottish National Portrait Gallery.
It's been hanging for a week in this one-of-a-kind collection of Stuart royal portraits.
This is James V.
It's a good painting.
But before you can spot a fake Scottish monarch, you have to know what makes a real one, which is what art historian Rose Balston can help with.
We've got a whole load of paintings here of the Stuart court, starting from 1537 with Mary of Guise and leading right up to a young Charles II. We can kind of see the birth of British portraiture here. And we see the early portraiture when there's a sort of iconic feel to the images. And then we get to the 17th century, we've got much more sense of kind of characteristics, perspective, depth. We've got landscape in there as well.
So why was it like this 100 years rather than any other century that they started getting it right?
The sitters were beginning to realise the power of art and the power of portraiture and how it could be a really good way of displaying status and wealth.
Because presumably nobody had any idea outside, you know, Edinburgh what a Scottish king looked like.
Absolutely. No Facebook, no television, none of that.
So these are what they wanted people to think they looked like.
Exactly.
And if the artist knew what was good for them, then they would make the nose just a little bit neater and
exactly. There's quite a lot of airbrushing going on here. But lots of copies of these images were made and they were kind of displayed around the realm so that you could see that the monarch was a powerful monarch.
And the monarchs of Scotland displayed here had a long, turbulent history.
James V by an unknown artist.
Who married Mary of Guise.
Ah, look, and she was the mother of Mary Queen of Scots.
She was very much like her mum, wasn't she?
Dreadful times.
Wrong place, wrong time, wrong choices in men. Poor woman.
Who married Lord Darnley.
He was very handsome. Mary really fell for him.
He was a naughty boy. He liked to go on the town, didn't he?
And between them produced the next King of Scotland.
This one's James VI as a child.
Who became James I of England.
He looks druggy.
Who had a fool in his court. And a cousin, Lady Arabella Stuart, who plotted against him to seize his crown.
I wouldn't like to meet this lady in the dark night, that's for sure.
and a grandson who came to rule England.
So who would that? Charles, Prince of Wales. He has like an old man who's been for a pint sort of face.
So this is one of my favourite portraits in the gallery. I absolutely love it. It's an exquisite portrait of Mary of Guise, who was the second wife of James V and the mother of Mary, Queen of Scots. And it's painted by Corneille de Lyon, who was a French artist who painted these glorious little miniatures. This kind of image is how Mary of Guise would have wanted to have looked herself. You know, this is not necessarily the warts and all image. It's more of a kind of iconic painting, if you like. Portraiture at this time had a very different role to today, or even to the 17th and 18th century. You know, this was a diplomatic piece of art. It was made for travelling.
So is this one of those portraits that you used to get then when the painter was sent out to paint a prospective wife and bring it back so that James V would know what she looked like?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like a 16th century version of a beauty contest.
She's looking for a second husband, and she's had a painting painted. It's like Tinder. Not that I read, no.
Who's that? Charles II as Prince of Wales. He's a little soldier, isn't he? Is he? Yeah. Yes. He's just the battlefields in the background. We've got Medusa down here. I think the purpose is to show that he'll be a phenomenal king.
Artist Esther and her mum Frances normally only visit the modern exhibitions at the gallery.
I don't think we're that confident in spotting the fake.
Because sometimes the forgery may look better than the original.
It's like quite the dude, doesn't he? His eyes. Yeah, he looks like he can't be bothered. Or like he's been sitting for a painting for a long time.
This is Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley, painted by Hans Eworth. I could have this on my wall quite happily.
Stephen, a retired RAF officer, has a passion for art, but only authentic pieces.
I collect art, and I had to move from London to Glasgow because I ran out of wall space in London. I like to buy original art because I think there's no heart in a fake, and a faker, he just copies. He's got no soul. So this is Mary, Queen of Scots. She's looking very regal, very dark, very black.
Unknown artist.
Why is it an unknown artist?
Now, we don't know who this picture's by. This was very typical of 16th and 17th century art. And this is quite interesting because this is a copy of a work called the Sheffield Portrait by Pierre Oudry. This was a...
So this is a fake?
So this is... It's not a fake, it's a copy. Pierre Oudry would have a number of people working in his studios who would create copies.
Monarchs made sure their image was copied to spread their face far and wide. Queen Elizabeth I knew the power of the royal portrait. She didn't want her subjects to see her age. So she commissioned famous artists, such as Nicholas Hilliard, to paint her looking youthful and chaste. He created a pattern, a regulated version of the painting approved by the Queen, which artists would copy again and again. It was so important to control her own image that in 1563, Elizabeth made laws forbidding the creation of any portrait of her that did not follow the official pattern, preserving the flattering image of her that we still have today.
Hidden away in his workshop, our faker, Jonathan Adams, has prepared his ancient board.
It's as straight as I could wish for.
He has no official pattern, as 16th century artists might have had, so will use any tool available.
Projecting the image is by no means cheating. This sort of method has been around since the Middle Ages.
Artists used sunlight and simple lenses to project images for copying.
By the time of Holbein, in the court of Henry VIII, this was a very popular method of getting an accurate image onto a canvas or a panel.
And it's a technique used by the best forgers operating today, guaranteeing that the proportions will be spot on.
As long as I have faith that all the marks I make are accurate, then I know that I'm not going to make any silly mistakes. There.
Jonathan might have the exact outline, but the real test is matching the exact style of historical paintwork.
So, here we go. It's all a bit nerve-wracking, especially the first couple of hours. You need to get the whole panel covered as quickly as you can. Once we've got some visual sort of volume in it, then we can get started with the detail. I'm interested in all sorts of styles, but I'm not clued up enough about the Stuart period. A lot of those early portraitists of royalty, it was a bit flat and stylised. It will be tricky, but I shall use as many visual tricks as I can to fool people into thinking that this was done about 400 years ago. They understood about the translucency of oil paint in general. You see the underlayers as well as the top layers. It's not like working onto a white canvas where you've got all your luminosity already there. Here I'm having to really work at it because I'm working onto a dark oak background. I haven't done anything like this for many, many years. And it's just a question of me concentrating a bit. I'll get the hang of it. I'll soon get the hang of it.
Paint almost looks new.
Yeah.
It's on a panel, it's on wood, so you should expect it to have a lot more, essentially, wear and tear over the years.
Would the paint still be so crisp? But it does look old. But, I mean, you could add that effect to it, couldn't you?
So how are people going to find fakes close up? I mean, they're all squizzing in, you know, right up close. What are they doing? What do they need to do?
Well, they need to look at brushstrokes. They need to look at how old these paintings look. They need to look for cracking as well.
Mhm.
But the most important thing is just to get really, really close and have a look at all the details. And also really get a sense of the colour of that particular work against all of the other works in the gallery. And you can see how fresh the paint is as well, and that's a really important thing to look for.
I can't smell it as being new paint, but I have my suspicions about this. Because I imagine myself as standing for the artist to make this painting. And he's put himself into this painting, the artist, and it's reflecting back on me as a viewer.
Yes, I would say that was an original. Just with the way that the paint's kind of crusting there.
Oh, I mean, it's extraordinary. I mean, the whole is like a little composition in itself. You just don't question it, you enjoy it. You're not looking at it going, what is that doing there? And if that is a forger, you should keep forging. Just keep forging. They'll be making a fortune. There are some very, very, very good forgers. I mean, good grief. They've fooled the art establishment for a long time.
Charles I. I remember this from years back.
Vera and Sheila are old school friends who are combining their considerable experience to help spot the fake.
We probably have a fair knowledge of Scottish history because we had the benefit of a very good Scottish education. Oh, that's James VI.
He doesn't look normal.
I don't think he was. Wasn't he quite ugly, but very clever? Is that a sparrowhawk he's got?
Or just as a hawk.
He's a bit young to be holding a hawk.
That wouldn't be difficult to copy. I'm not confident about finding the fake because they are so clever.
We thought we spotted a fake in the gallery next door.
Yes.
But it wasn't. Well, we presume it wasn't.
No.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Have you spotted the fake in here?
No, we've only just started looking, but we've decided that one isn't.
Why is that one not the fake?
Because it's behind glass.
Well, I think we could probably put glass on our fake if we were trying to fool you.
I think it wouldn't be worth it. I wouldn't think you would need to.
Have you ever seen a fake painting before?
No, but I do know somebody who did fakes, and they were fantastic.
And what happened to the person
Went
who
to
did
prison.
Went to prison. Oh dear. Do you still see him, or do you after he went to prison? No, you shunned him after he went to prison.
He restored a painting for me a few years ago.
After or before his prison sentence?
After.
Oh, how nice of you to put
After.
work his way then.
Yeah. But men dress so well then.
What are you saying? Well,
Oh yes, yeah.
I
I mean,
we dress well
you
now.
dress comfortably now.
This is not that comfortable. These are a little tight.
Well,
But they, you know.
yes.
That's the fashion. That was the fashion of the
And that
day.
was the fashion, yes.
For some in the gallery, the clothes they're wearing in the portraits are of particular interest.
She's my soul sister. Like, we're dressed similar. I would get that. That one, I don't know, seems different. The hat is, don't know if I'd get away with wearing that sort of hat. That's a really gorgeous, like, chain thing that he's got on there. When did you ever see Prince Harry or Philip or anyone dressed like that?
What about her clothes? I mean, how wealthy do you think she is?
Well, if those pearls are real, very wealthy. If not, she's just a cheap tart. I don't know what sort of judgment to make. I mean, obviously, this is some nice schmutter here. Lots of lace,
Yes.
which I imagine came from
Super expensive
Yeah.
lace. I mean, look how beautifully it's been painted. Fabulous rough. And also, don't forget, black was a super expensive material as well. So this is all about wealth, this portrait. We can really see that she's a wealthy woman.
Why she was on the snuff, was she? Is that what's going on there?
OK, let's have a little closer look at this. This is actually a clock. Do you have any ideas on what it might be to do with?
Is that like someone constantly holding their phone and to show how busy they are and constantly checking the time? She's constantly refreshing her clock and it's always 16:05.
So what the clock is actually to do with, it's called a vanitas, like a memento mori. It's a constant reminder of her mortality.
I think her face in the mirror was a constant reminder of her mortality, doesn't it?
What about the dog?
He looked a bit of a wretched specimen.
Well, again, a dog was a really clear symbol of fidelity and faithfulness. And the dog is presumably a reference to her faithfulness to the king. So she had quite a rocky ride, Lady Arabella Stuart. Ended up being chucked in the tower and died of self-imposed starvation.
No, not a happy portrait. They were always trying to murder and kill each other off for power. And when you look at a portrait like this, you can see the symbolism.
Tragic.
Tragic. Thank God I'm a commoner, as they say.
Oh, Mary Queen of Scots. I recognise that, but then if it was a fake, I would still recognise it. It would
Yes,
be
you would, because that is what
I'd
she
recognise
looked.
the painting.
It's almost
I could do it.
simplistic.
Yes. Oh, I don't know.
Very little elaboration
Yes.
or intricate working.
Yes. I'm stumped.
Vera and Sheila are out of ideas. And after another busy day at the gallery, the doors are shut. But with thousands more visitors to pass through the doors, how long will it be until the fake is discovered? For over a month, 7 fake paintings have been lurking in our greatest public galleries. From Cardiff to Manchester, Liverpool to London. And here, in the Scottish National Portrait Gallery's Royal Collection, thousands of visitors have come to see if they can spot the fake Stuart portrait.
It's wonderfully kind of distressed, though. You know, the paint's all cracked.
I'm just trying to think if it was me painting a forgery now, how would you use the paint?
Yeah, but you couldn't fake the crackle.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, in her face particularly, there's a lot of cracks. Could you not fake the crackle?
Surely our faker will have tried to make it look as much like a 16th century painting as possible.
If you're thinking about the surface of the painting,
Mhm.
craquelure is quite a good indication. Craquelure is quite a good.
What does that mean?
All the kind of cracking that you get on.
Oh,
on
craquelure. It's a French word, but you just mean the cracking, don't you?
I mean the cracking.
Let's call it craquelure. It's what you get when you roast a piece of pork really nice and.
Exactly, that's the one. And actually, you're absolutely right in that if you're a forger or a copyist and you're trying to get that sense of something kind of old and kind of cracking on the panel, you might actually bake it.
How long and at what temperature? Because people want to do it at home. They'll want to...
Artist Ed and his wife Holly are joining the hunt and are here to get the kids to look at art in a new way.
I wouldn't normally come to the historical bit of it because that's more an Ed thing.
I reckon there's a chance that it might be a fake.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hopefully I can spot maybe a few brushstrokes or a few more modern materials. I think the little details, like the watch and the pearls, are fine, but the hands are too long.
The arms are like big.
The arms look massive.
But do you think it's just because she's not an attractive woman and so they're trying to make and they're trying to make the best of what they're having to work with? Hopefully, something might just ping out the painting that looks a bit unusual. Fingers crossed, I'll be able to find it. Everything's really flat, there's not much dimension to it at all. If you were James V,
I'd be off with the artist's head.
you'd be off with his head.
It seems Holly and her family are not the only fake hunters troubled by the old style of painting.
What do you think? You think they're both real or is one of these fake? You took art class, right?
I think the one on top is flatter and like the texture looks kind of different than all the other ones.
Now, I'm no artist, but this would probably be easier for someone to replicate because its flatness makes it somewhat simple than that. Now, I could be totally clueless.
So we've got James VI of Scotland, James I of England up
Yeah.
there. There's not that much character, is there? There's not much life, there's not much personality. Whereas when we look down at Tom Derry, who, by the way, was the court fool, we get that sense of personality.
But the painting of the fool is so much better than the painting of the king.
Well, by this point, so this is about 20 years later this was painted, we have this artist, Marcus Gerhardt's the Younger, who was very inspired by what had been going on in the continent. He really started kind of ramping up this idea of perspective and realism and characteristics. We've got a three-dimensional image here on a two-dimensional plane. I mean, this is a really, really exciting moment in art, in British art, when things start coming to life.
Artists have been studying perspective ever since the 15th century.
Perspective came out of an intellectual environment and spiritual environment of humanism, of people wanting to know more about how the world functioned.
In 1435, architect Leon Battista Alberti was the first to write down the rules of perspective.
A number of books were written during the Renaissance, especially in Italy, that tried to map out the recipes for making art.
And these rules are still followed today by 3D artist Joe Hill, who's pushing perspective to its limits.
This is the edge, the lip of a hole, that we're going to be creating the depth within this area here. I'm just going to draw a cross on the ground, and this is going to be my vanishing point.
The vanishing point was the key discovery to achieving perspective.
I'll draw down to that vanishing point and create a fan shape, which will create the depth.
Just like the railway track and the Roman road, as lines go away from you, they converge and in the end meet, and that's called the vanishing point.
I'm just echoing the lines of the outer bit, but using the perspective lines as my guide.
By the 1500s, it was the way forward. It was the way of seeing space. Then I suppose the most important person is Raphael. And in the Pope's apartments in the Vatican, he painted a series of paintings that are called the stanzae. And each one really is a celebration of his ability to work within perspectival space. It was a conjuring trick. They didn't know. The public didn't know how it was done. I would have thought the Pope thought they were absolute magic, and the guy was a genius. You realise how important artists may have been in people's lives.
The viewer is standing on the vanishing point. That's perfect.
And the excitement people felt about perspective 600 years ago can still be felt today.
Wow, that's so good! I love it!
There's a depth to that that these other ones don't have.
Yeah.
So that's quite a different style.
It's much more three-dimensional.
Yeah.
There's shadows being cast all over the place.
But Jonathan must paint a portrait that predates the understanding of perspective in this country. So he'll have to forget all his modern artistic training to get into the mindset of a 16th century artist.
I'm very keen to get some modelling done in the face. The face is obviously the most important part of any portrait, and so if you can make a good stab of that at the beginning, it does help.
It will be a challenge to create a perfect replica of his chosen Stuart royal.
Here we have King James, the King of the Scots, and it's a celebration of his status.
James V was originally painted by an unknown artist long after his death. It was one of 5 portraits of Scottish kings commissioned by his grandson James VI to establish the legitimacy of his claim to the English throne.
There's something rather otherworldly about this guy, isn't there? I mean, he doesn't look like someone you just bump into in the street, does he? I'm not going to mix any fancy flesh tones or anything at this stage. This is simply a question of the structure or the mapping of his head. A copyist tries to make as perfect a replica as possible of a given painting. Now, his eyes are rather odd-looking. I find it quite difficult to get it entirely accurate because my brain's telling me one thing and my eyesight's telling me something else. So I have to try and put my brain into neutral, which often is quite easy, but not on this occasion, unfortunately.
With less than 2 weeks to go before it's hung in the gallery, he needs a new perspective.
If I look in a mirror, the mirror will give me a fresh eye straight away and show me all sorts of things I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. See something that needs altering straight away. The eyes need some considerable adjustment. The beard needs redefining, and the big problem I'm having is with the ruff on the collar. I can see the mistakes I've made, so I've just got to get on and fix them.
To do that, Jonathan must take a big step backwards.
I'm going to poke him in the eye and alter it a bit. This paint is not that old, so it'll come off fairly easily. There's no half measures. If you're going to change it, you're going to change it. It's a complete nightmare. I can't possibly imagine why I do this for a living. It'll be all right on the night.
Cheeks there.
Well, how do you know?
We might as well stop now.
I'm suspicious of that one.
What is that? Oh my god.
Oh god.
They don't do flattery, do they?
Have a close look. Because you're taller than me, I can't see that. I'm really interested in art and galleries, and given the chance, I would visit them quite often.
Juliet is an art teacher and has brought her sons, Fraser and Quinn, to help her find the fake.
I'm hoping that this will change the way they view art in the future and not just, you know, disregard and think, oh, it's something Mum does. It's making them think in a way about painting that I don't think I could have even achieved.
Thank God for 3G. This isn't cheating, this is using our initiative.
It's not your IT people, I'm glad I've got you.
It's got a green mark
What
there
have you
in
seen?
the corner.
Wait a
It's got a
minute,
green
what's
mark
it
in the
seen?
corner. It's got a green mark in the corner.
Show me. Oh my God.
That's been painted over. Don't know if that makes it fake or that makes it real.
Yeah, but have they not just repaired it?
That's
over?
repaired.
That's
Yeah,
real
that's
repair,
fake.
so that's not
Okay.
fake.
After removing his previous mistake, Jonathan tried again to capture that 500-year-old face.
The first thing I'm going to have a go at is his eyelid, because that really does shout out at me now. I couldn't see it before, but now I look at it, I think it's completely wrong. Yeah, the eyes are always the most important part of any portrait, so they've got to be right. I'm not too bothered about the colour at this stage of the game. It's going to be off-white with a little bit of terre verte. Terre verte is a very mild, sort of earthy green colour, and it's been an essential part of mixing flesh tones for donkey's years. Seems to look all right.
Painting it correctly is only half the battle. Crucial to creating a successful fake is aging it.
I need this to bear fairly close inspection, so I need to put in this damage and the little nicks and dings in it and the little discrepancies and the little bits of overpaint here and there. Doesn't want to be looking perfect as if it was painted this month. We need to fool the eye a bit here. The aging process is actually quite tricky. It's impossible to reproduce craquelure of an old painting. There's a bit of another nail hole there. When I first saw this painting, the original, it was as if I'd been presented with an alien. It was so far removed from the things that I was used to. But having studied him and looked at him for the last few weeks, he seems to be a modest, wise man. Someone I'd be quite happy to go and have a drink with or something. Yeah, well, I'll just wish it well and hope it passes muster.
He's got a lazy eye.
He's got a lazy eye.
Well, maybe he did have. Maybe he did have a lazy eye. That looks pretty similar to me.
Yeah, that
looks the same.
Ah, OK.
That's definitely real. Let's move on.
Thank you. That's really useful.
With the fraudulent James still avoiding discovery, and 1 week left on the gallery wall, will anyone find the fake? Our fake royal painting has been hanging in the Scottish National Portrait Gallery for 4 weeks. Now everyone's returning to see the fake unveiled.
It's a shame they're all under glass that I could smell if there was new paint.
I'm going to go full budget Sherlock Holmes.
Will the fraudulent James V have managed to fool the public?
I think the forgery is absolutely fantastic, whichever one it is.
Yeah.
It's obviously so good.
Yeah, well played. Well played to the forger.
Joe, it's just a bit... This one, a little bit suspicious, do you not think? There's fresh white paint on the dog. If you look through the magnifying glass.
That was a big contender, that woman with the miserable face in the corner.
Arabella Stuart.
Arabella Stuart. They all seem to think she's the fake, I guess because it looks like a new painting.
It does. Her face is quite fresh. She's got those really red cheeks against the kind of white, pale white skin. Also, the dog is a bit kind of crudely painted.
Let's try and, like, eliminate the ones that we think are real. Okay, so
I think that one's real.
We think this one's real.
There's a double bluff going on here. I think we've got to pick the thing that's... I think it's probably maybe Queen of Scots.
You're looking at that over there and it looks like somebody's cleaned the glass and they've put it back again.
No, it's not a fake, it's an original. Yeah, it's definitely an original.
Over there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can't decide.
So are we still between the first one and the not very skillful one? Okay.
What's the guy got?
They're much darker.
Oh, Vera, I don't know.
Before the fake is unmasked to the general public, one last visitor has come to see it hanging on the gallery wall. But he knows exactly which one it is. So you've got a painting there from, before the dawn of painting, a flat face, dead eyes. Does that make it harder to copy?
It does in a sense. If you do portraits, you're trained to seek out features in the face, the bridge of the nose, the tip of the nose, the brow, all sorts of features that make up a human face and make it recognisable as an individual. But this one with James V, it was singularly lacking in a lot of that, and he did look very odd. But then that's... the artist did what he did his best, otherwise it would have been off with his head, wouldn't it?
Well, maybe it was. Maybe that's why it's unknown. Maybe it'll be off with yours if everybody guesses it.
Well, that's one way of putting it.
Before Jonathan's portrait is revealed, it's decision time. And the lack of perspective seems to have thrown people.
We have to give a stamp, we have to decide.
Right.
Right. You go first.
I think the fake was the Henry Stuart Lord Darnley painting, just because it didn't really mix in with all the other ones, it just kind of stuck out.
I disagreed. I thought that the fake was them James V. His lips are just look like they've been stuck on, and I thought that was probably the fake.
Yeah, I agree with Bob about that one as well.
And I thought it was James VI, just because I thought the colours were off.
It's more his guess that's off. But so were 14% of the public, who also thought it was the fake.
I just have a funny feeling about this one. For once, I'm going to trust my instinct. I'm going to go for Lady Arabella.
I went into this thinking I would 100% agree with whatever Mum said, no matter what. But I actually completely disagree, so I'm going to go with James VI when he was young.
Say Darnley.
Darnley? Yes, we're probably wrong.
Yes.
But never mind.
No.
The least guessed was Charles II, followed by the young James VI. But the most popular choice of fake was indeed our phony king.
I think he might be a bit of a fraud, our James.
However, with only 28% of people spotting him, he's had a respectable reign.
I think James V is the fake. When I looked at it, I just thought that it wasn't a painting that had been there for long.
The imposter has done his job. And now the rightful King James is finally coming out of exile and is on his way to regain his rightful place in the gallery. The original portrait of James V. It served as a powerful political tool in establishing the royal lineage of the new King James I of England. Jonathan Jonathan, I think you did a brilliant job. Well done for fooling them.
I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. It's all been worthwhile.
Can a copy ever compare to the original?
It's got the eyes and the expression really well, the fake. The earlobe's not so accurate. It's really good seeing them next to each other, though, really side by side. It's really, really good.
From here, though, you've got to say, having faked a 500-year-old painting, he's done pretty well. The colours are pretty much bang on.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, the face is a little bit paler, but other than that, it's really good. I think when you get closer to it, you start to see that some of the details perhaps aren't quite as well done.
It's interesting, isn't it, to see the original in a situation where he's had to paint a painting which, to modern eyes, is a bit primitive, to then see the primitive original and realise that he's done a very good job of getting in the spirit of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he has done a good job in order to be able to convince us that this was a 16th century portrait.
I won.
I won too.
Girls against boys.
If we just came here just as a family outing, I probably would have sit there being bored.
The challenge of trying to find the fake has definitely made the process much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Very clever. Yes, who would have thought it? The amazing thing is, the young men are all wearing beards like that now.
Yes. I would never have thought that was it.
I think it's 1 to me, 0 to the faker. He tried to fool me, and he hasn't done so. This competition really gave me a new way of looking at paintings, and I hope to continue looking at paintings that way, not much detail, in the future, because it's lots of fun to do so.
So you're looking for the fakes. Has that changed the way that you look at paintings?
Yes, you look a lot more closely, and you look at the technique, and you look at maybe the way the composition has been set out. It is a wonderful thing to do, is to look and to see what's in front of you, rather than just observe and go off to the tea shop.
Which is where I'm going to go now. But it was nice talking.
Because of our kings and queens' desire to be portrayed realistically, artists and their knowledge flowed in from the continent. And as a result, art was kick-started in Britain, and the artists became the stars that we know them as today.
As for our phony king, it's too dangerous for him to be left hanging around. If he were to be sold on the black market, it could devalue original royal portraits and shake public confidence in art. For this reason, after all the effort Jonathan Adams put into it, James is branded and put out of harm's way, deep in storage. Next time.
I think it could be that one.
I think it's that one.
We hunt for a fake from the golden age of British portraiture.
She's looking at her earrings.
Oh.
And taking on one of the masters of the 18th century, the era of Sir Joshua Reynolds, Thomas Gainsborough, and George Romney, is the man the police called...
Come on, sweetie.
...the greatest art forger of the 20th century.
It's not seeing is believing. It's believing is seeing.